You know, sometime back, almost about many months back, there was one statement which was published and it was given out by Kangana Ranaut. She's a Indian Bollywood actress and she's won quite a bit of national awards. I think maybe twice or thrice. And she was at some point also the highest paid actress. Maybe she's still the highest paid actress in some way. She gets, I think, about 14 crores as remuneration for one movie, which is roughly about 2 million USD. So the comment or the statement she had given was, we got that India got freedom as alms, ALMS. She said, आज़ादी हमें भीख में मिली थी. You know, I was so offended with this statement. It just curdled my blood in so many ways. It made me unhappy for days and weeks to have heard this from an Indian who now enjoys living in an independent India. I said, who can be so ungrateful to their freedom fighters, to all the freedom struggle, and so much damage, destruction, and pain people went through in trying to make India independent. And while she gave out this as a statement, she was also very cool about it. She had no remorse. She never took back that statement, and she was very very okay with having said what she said. So, one thing I can do is I can start abusing her, which is what I want to do. Or I can say, let us understand one, how come Kangana Ranaut not know about the freedom struggle, or have does not have freedom struggle or fight about independence and all the people who went through this whole movement to make India free and independent. How does she not have that etched in her memory? How come she grew up not feeling or understanding anything about India's freedom, that she makes this statement so casually and is okay with it? So let us understand Kangana Ranaut first. That why did she say what she said and what is her background? So Kangana comes from Himachal Pradesh, which is a very cold or a beautiful cold weather state. So there is a lot of snow there, and in summers it's a very beautiful, pleasant weather to go to. Kangana Ranaut comes from Himachal Pradesh. Before this statement where she said Azadi hame bhik mein mili thi, she had said in some newspaper that some colonial boss who lived in Himachal, she had said that that colonial boss name should be named after a street in Himachal. She had done some campaign for it where she wanted a colonial boss name to be as the street name in some part of Himachal. So let us continue to understand Kangana Ranaut and why she's so, so enamored with the colonial bosses and doesn't give two hoots about the freedom struggle and the freedom fight that so many people went through to make India independent. So, if you look at Himachal as a state, all these colonial bosses from the East India Company, they made Himachal as their holiday home. So when you go to McLeodganj, which is a very famous place in Himachal near Dharamshala, the place is named after a colonial boss called McLeod. So that place is now called McLeodganj because McLeod used to go and spend his summers there and he had his summer home there. So all these colonial bosses spent their holidays or did all the vacationing in Himachal. What has happened is all the Himachalis mostly were treated very well because they were servants to these colonial bosses. They were either cleaning their homes, the white man's homes, or they were cleaning their toilets, or they were cooking for them, or they were, massaging their wives, or oiling their wife's hair, or combing it, and so on. So, and also colonial bosses may be giving a fuck to some of the local women also. So when we look at the interaction between the colonial bosses from the East India Company way back in the pre-independence era with the people of Himachal, it was more like a boss and a slave or a servant relationship. But people treat their servants and household helps very well. They treat them as a family because these are also the people who are going to cook for them, also clean for them, and do whatever other man Friday work that needs to be done will do for them. So Kangana Ranaut comes from that generation and background where her great grandfather, her grandfather, and possibly even her father, mother, and mother's parents, and her maternal lineage and her paternal lineage were all servants to the white people and the colonial bosses. So they have come out singing praises about these white colonial bosses that they were so nice, they did this for us, they did this for us, they did that for us. So Kangana grew up listening to great stories about colonial bosses of how kind they were to her great grandfather, great great grandfather's uncle, great grandfather, mother's father, great grandfather of some cousin's brother, and so on, and also to her grandfathers. And maybe her father also served as a servant, and mother also served as a servant to some colonial boss. So that's the background Kangana comes, and she is devoid of any knowledge or deep understanding about India's freedom struggle. Nowhere else people worked as servants to colonial bosses. They worked under paychecks or salaries, if at all they did, or they were busy fighting the colonial bosses. So, that is how she stands separate from a majority of India who knows what is an Indian struggle for getting independence. And she doesn't. And she doesn't care. See, this is another problem. If you see some of her pictures, one of the pictures she posted on her Instagram was she's wearing a school dress and her school dress has all mud on it and her hair is going in every which way and she's standing with another girl also in school dress and she says coming back from school, See, when you see somebody like this in a school dress and she has all mud and soil and everything on her, it means she was playing with her school dress on and she did not bother to change it. So, she comes from a extremely poor or a imprivileged family, and I wouldn't be surprised if her parents, mother and father, or her great uncles and aunts and great grandfathers or mothers used to clean toilets for the colonial bosses, because that is the kind of non-evolved brain she has. And that's how the kind of pictures she's posting, as if people go to play, after school in the school dress, people change and then go to play, but she says this is after school playing. Who keeps playing after the school in the school dress? So, my anger then soothed or went down when I made this understanding about Kangana Ranaut. And I continuously keep saying this again and again, that this world needs to pay salaries. Because people from very poor, bad backgrounds, even though they may look like $1 million, she looks like $1 million and earns $1 million, which is great. But she shouldn't be earning that much money, because with her nonsense, she's shaping the society and she's diluting people's respect for the freedom fighters and all the people who fought for India's freedom and independence. So, this is one of the other reasons why I say no matter who's how big an actor, you cannot pay them that big salaries. You cannot get 2 million USD as a movie fee or 14 crores as a movie payout. The most you can get is maybe 10,000, 20,000, or maybe just fix it at 30,000 a month. That's it. You can make whatever movies you like, but you are a commoner or a regular, so that your brain stays very, very okay and you don't become a stupid person who's talking nonsense and diluting something so big and so huge, you know, like India's freedom struggle. It just pained me in every which way.